Hi, I'm Jen, and this is my Writer's Shed. Quick reminder here at the top that this channel is an inclusive space, which means that Black Lives Matter. If there are things that we can do to make our content more accessible or inclusive, please let us know in the comments below or send us an email. Today, we're going to talk about white privilege and how it doesn't always mean what you might think. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines white privilege as inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. If you are white or white passing, or even if you have a white passing name, then you benefit from white privilege. A lot of people who do benefit from this social phenomenon bristle at the use of the word privilege. They make objections like, but I'm not rich, or I don't have any family connections, or I've been turned down from jobs. They say things like, I've been pulled over by the police, or my ancestors suffered too, and all of that might be true. But white privilege isn't about your individual experience. It's about an entire system that is in place to give preferential treatment to the majority group already in power. America was founded by white Puritans, and according to the U.S. Census Bureau, over 75% of our population is still white today. As an aside, I know the census isn't perfect, it's self-reported and all that other statistical stuff, but it's the data that we have, so it's the data that we're going with. And majority doesn't mean that we should be the only folks represented, but it's what it's translated to since our country was founded. White supremacy and privilege are nefarious partly because they are so ingrained and can seem invisible until you start looking for them. Other times, however, they are radically easy to see, like in the case of the Black Lives Matter protests versus the Capitol riots in DC. This is clear in both the way that these events unfolded, especially regarding the police response, and how they were covered in the news. White privilege is everywhere, from the assumptions that we make about people based on a name on a resume to how we talk about murder victims and criminals. It exists in the way that white people can get into genealogy because their families were never enslaved or relocated, forced to change their names or identities or religion. It exists in how makeup companies and Band-Aid brands, ballet tights, have only recently started broadening the spectrum of the color nude. It exists among Disney characters and baby dolls and the Rockettes. I've mentioned before that my reading experiences, especially when I was younger, were incredibly whitewashed, in part because the non-white authors were relegated to the multicultural reading sections of the reading list, which I didn't think were important for me to read because I saw myself reflected in the normal books. White privilege is why historians are willing to ascribe things like the pyramids being built and mosaic design and ancient technology to aliens that we never saw again, sooner than they are willing to admit that non-white cultures developed these things. It is the reason why Mount Vernon tour guides won't use the word slave, and why Sally Hemmings had no place at Monticello until 2018. And even then, it was a weak showing at best. It's why we keep casting white actresses as Cleopatra, and why Asian and Latinx performers choose to Americanize their names, even today. If you do benefit from white privilege, it's not your fault, and it doesn't inherently make you a bad person. But you do need to examine the ways in which you have an advantage over others, based only on your skin color, your name, your gender, or your religion. The ways you either fulfill or successfully perform the ideal images of white supremacy. If you recognize those advantages and do nothing to educate yourself, educate others, and or to counteract this deep-rooted inequality, that's contributing to the system already in place. And that is racism. While working to counteract these effects, we should avoid leaning on BIPOC to do this work for us, to share their trauma or provide evidence of white privilege and white supremacy. We cannot sit in silence as our friends and family continue to benefit from and perpetuate these ideals. And I have bad news on this front. No one is going to thank you for this work, especially not other white people. It is not the kind of work that deserves a big fat thank you from BIPOC, and we aren't playing the white savior. They have been putting in this work for decades and centuries and losing lives over it, and continue continue to. Educating yourself and speaking up is the absolute least you can do to counteract a system that your own ancestors, however indirectly, have helped uphold. That is not going to make you popular at the dining room table, but it's the right thing to do, and it makes work down the line easier. It sets the right example for the next generation. If you do nothing, you pave the way for others to do nothing as well. White privilege exists to keep us comfortable and in charge. I challenge you to think about the advantages that you take for granted and the privilege that you benefit from in everyday life. Know that undoing these biases is difficult, complex work, but you can take action every day to make changes. You can start by diversifying the media that you consume, including books, music, podcasts, movies, even YouTube channels and other social media creators. Are the white artists that you follow using their platform to encourage inclusion? During the month of February, my YouTube channel is going dark. I'm spending the month promoting Black creators in honor of Black History Month. I'll be sharing links on my Twitter and Instagram, but I encourage you to do some searching of your own as well. I'm also spending the month reading Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad. The book details a 28-day self-reflection journey and includes journaling prompts as well as explanations of many concepts related to white privilege and white supremacy. I've included a link to Layla's website, which includes the book and the official guided journal in the description below. As always, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell to get notified every time there's a new video. If you want more content, including sneak peek novel scraps and semi-weekly roundups of my full writing schedule, you can become a patron. My Patreon and the rest of my social media pages are linked in the description. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in March.
Are you always this articulate?
Hercules, my